All right, guys, Beowulf 32. But the thief had not come to steal. He stole and roused the dragon, not from desire, but need. He was someone's slave, had been beaten by his masters, had run from all men's sight, but with no place to hide. Then he found the hidden path and used it. And once inside, seeing the sleeping beast, staring as it yawned and stretched, not wanting to wake it, terror struck, he turned and ran for his life, taking the jeweled cup. That tower was heaped high with hidden treasure, stored there years before by the last survivor of a noble race, ancient riches left in the darkness as the end of a dynasty came. Death had taken them one by one, and the warrior who watched over all that remained mourned their fate, expecting soon the same for himself, knowing the golden jewels he had guarded so long could not bring him pleasure much longer. He brought the precious cups, the armor, and the ancient swords to a stone tower built near the sea below a cliff, a sealed fortress with no windows, no doors, waves in front of it, rocks behind. Then he spoke, "Take these treasures, earth, now that no one living can enjoy them. They were yours in the beginning." Let me go back real quick. Allow them to return. War and terror have swept away my people, shut their eyes to the light and to living, close the door to all gladness. No one is left to lift these swords, polish these jeweled cups. No one leads, no one follows. These hammered helmets worked with gold will tarnish and crack. The hands that should clean and polish them are still forever. And these mail shirts worn in battle once while swords crashed and blades bit into shields and men will rust away like the warriors who own them. None of these treasures will travel to distant lands, following their lords, the harp's bright song, the hawk crossing through the hall on its swift wings, the stallion tramping in the courtyard, all gone, creatures of every kind and their masters hurled to the grave. And so we spoke sadly of those long dead and lived from day to day, joyless, until at last death touched his heart and took him. Took and death touched his heart and took him too, and a stalker in the night, a flaming dragon, found the treasure unguarded. He whom men fear came flying through the darkness, wrapped in fire, seeking caves and stone-split ruins, but finding gold. Then it stayed, buried itself with heathen silver and jewels it could neither use nor ever abandon. So mankind's enemy, the mighty beast, slept in those stone walls for hundreds of years. A runaway slave roused it, stole a jeweled cup, and bought his master's forgiveness, begged for mercy, and was pardoned when his delighted lord took the present he bore, turned it in his hands and stared at the ancient carvings. The cup brought peace to a slave, pleased his master, but stirred a dragon's anger. It turned hunting the thief's tracks and found them, saw where its visitor had come and gone. He'd survived, had come close enough to touch its scaly head, and yet lived as it lifted its cavernous jaws through the grace of Almighty God and a pair of quiet, quick-moving feet. The dragon followed his steps, anxious to find the man who had robbed it of silver and sleep. It circled around and around the tower, determined to catch him, but could not. He had run too fast. The wilderness was empty. The beast went back to its treasure, planning a bloody revenge, and found what was missing, saw what thieving hands had stolen. Then it crouched on the stones, counting off the hours till the Almighty's candle went out. And evening came, and wild with anger, it could fly burning across the land, killing and destroying with its breath. Then the sun was gone, and its heart was glad, glowing with rage. It left the tower, impatient to repay its enemies. The people suffered, everyone lived in terror. But when Beowulf had learned of their trouble, his fate was worse and came quickly. Whose fate? The dragon's fate? Not sure. So with the Almighty's candle went out, like when day became night, and its heart was glad, glowing with rage. It left the tower, impatient to repay its enemies. The people suffered, everyone lived in terror. But when Beowulf had learned of their trouble, his fate was worse and came quickly. He's talking about the dragon.